All right, guys, we got the truck on the trailer going to the track. So we're about 2 hours into the drive now, and decided to come down, sneak down on a Sunday, and bring the truck down. My son's coming along. He's going to be my cameraman today, and hopefully we can get some clean passes. So I had an issue with my battery dying again today, so I lost about an hour and a half for that. I had to run and get a new battery. They warrantied it, so I didn't have to pay for it, but I still had to try to get my battery out, and I put the roll cage in, so now I can't lift my bed up high enough to actually get the battery out. So I had to perform some tricks to get it out, but I ended up getting it. Now we're about 10 minutes from the track, and hopefully we can have a decent day. I'd like to get a clean pass on 30 pounds. That's the goal for the day, and we'll see how that does. We'll get there at like 1 o'clock. They close at 6, so I'll have about 5 hours, and hopefully we can make that happen. Oh man, guys, I forgot to turn the camera on. Oh man. That was a pretty good pass too, I think. I want to say I was around 29 pounds of boost. It did have a little bit of spin and traction control, but it did hit 30 pounds. So I'll have to check the log. Man, I forgot to turn the camera on. My son got a shot on the outside though, hopefully. One felt pretty good. Yeah, so I did see that it made around 29 or 30, but it did hit traction control in the beginning, so it was probably down about 5 or 6 degrees on timing for probably a good portion of the run. So we'll see what the log looks like. I have the dial of boost all the way up.
Two things I gotta say. One, there only one wheel spun. I think I saw a car that just made an 8-1.
All right, so 9.6 at 145. And my son just told me that only one wheel spun during the burnout. So that probably doesn't help. That was a 1.4 60 foot. But I'd say that's pretty good for a one wheel burnout. So maybe we're off to a good start today. Okay, so here we go. This spun a little bit. I pedaled it, and then traction control pulled timing. So this had 1 degree of timing in it, the whole, like, for 4 seconds during the pass. So I'll click here, and that's the ignition timing. So for 4 seconds during that 9.6 pass, it was at under 2 degrees of timing. So I made traction control a little bit less aggressive again, and we'll see what it does. So then it shifted like 1.3 again, but it did peak at around 31.5 pounds of boost, and then it settled out when it ramped the timing back in. It settled out at about 26 pounds, 27 pounds. So 27 pounds at 47% on the dial boost, so I went up to 50 now, and then we'll see where that ends up. Looking good, and then it was only 16 pounds, so I think I got that boost leak shit again. But the 60 foot felt pretty good. I don't really think it spun that much. It just really lost a bunch of power, I think, because of the boost leak. I want to say it was making like 27 or 28 pounds before the boost leak. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, 9.6 at 137, so lost 10 mile an hour, still went a 1.4. Well, I thought it might have been this coupler again, but then I was looking around a little bit, and then I saw my wastegate line popped off of the controller. So I'm going to put that back on and zip tie it, and then I might still try to seal this thing up a little bit better. Alright, so I turned the traction control off, and turn the boost up a little bit because it looked like it was making around 28 or 29 at around 48%. So I think I went to 49 now. And the upper limit I think seems to be working pretty good because the last 2 passes in a row, it peaked at 31.5. So that's without hitting boost cut. But we got a broken drive shaft up there right now, so they just shut it back down. So we're gonna wait for the car to get off the track with the broken drive shaft. No fluids though, it sounds like, but we got shafted. Forgot the camera again on that one, but I don't know if it was any better. I gotta take a really good look at this log because it like comes up on boost and then it just drops all back off. I turned the traction control off that time, so it shouldn't have been any of that. I gotta see if it's actually like hitting boost cut or something. Yeah, 9.5 at 142, so it's like really losing a lot. 1.460 foot again. Man, I gotta figure out why it keeps dropping boost off. Go up again. I'm having a really weird issue right now where I can't load the file I just saved, and I can't open the old file. So I did find something that I changed with the plumbing on the wastegate. I had a little pinhole, so I don't know if that's going to do anything or not, but I guess we'll find out. I just spent a little bit of time trying to mess around with that. Tune file stuff, but it's really weird. I can't load the update and I can't open the old file. So I'll try maybe I don't know, we'll see what this one does. Now that I covered that pinhole, it might just hit boost cut. We'll see. Didn't hit 28, but it hit a solid 20 pounds, like 1920. It felt like a pretty decent pass. Problem with all my other passes, I've basically been shifting like 1 to 3. That's because I'm like, it spins a little bit and I pedal it and then it goes to 3rd. So yeah, that file, I made a change. I couldn't upload it, so then I tried to download it off the ECU. And then when I try to open the file, it just closes Holly, like the software, it just completely closes it. When I open the new updated file that I saved, it opens it, but then when I save it and try to load it, it won't load. It just says error on the handheld. 9.6 again, 1.560 foot. All right, so this is what's going on. This is the file that's on it now. Download from ECU 921.23. It will download the file. And it seems like it's taking a lot longer. Then when I try to open this file, it says there's a problem with the mapping, the I/O mapping, and it says there's a period is the name of the I/O mapping. And then I click OK on all these, and then it closes the program. So I took that file then and I saved it as a new file when I still had it open. I saved it as this 1014 file. I can open this file, but then when I save the file, it saves fine. And then I go to load that 1014 file. It just says error, it doesn't do anything. So I can't modify the old file, and I can't upload, I can't change the file at all. So I can't even open the old one on the program to change it, and then I can't even do anything with this 1014, I can't load it. I can modify this one, but I can't load it, and I can open this one and load it, but I can't modify it. Alrighty, so it's the next day now, and I decided to come out and do a little boost leak check on this guy. So I'm just using some of these 4-inch rubber PVC caps, but got one on both sides. So I'm feeding the line into the intake, and I found a couple things so far. So first I just tested it by pulling this line off that goes down to the MAC valve here, and just feeding this line here, going to the blow-off valve. Blow-off valve is a huge leak to the point where when I had this line hooked up to the blow-off valve, it wouldn't even open the wastegate. So when I pulled this line off and then I plugged it with my thumb, the wastegates popped open. So there's no other leaks. Well, I will lie to you. So line back here for the fuel pressure regulator is also leaking. You can see it's a little bit loose. It does have a zip tie on it, but it's a little bit loose, and that one was leaking a little bit. But this one was enough that the system wouldn't even build 6 pounds to open the wastegates by itself, just with my little line from the compressor. So after that, I hooked that line back up to the intake. Now I'm just feeding the intake, and I can't even get it to make 1 pound. And I know I've tested it this way, not this truck, but I've done boost leak checks with just feeding the intake. And I did it on the Escalade too with the 88103, and I remember I had the Ace bucket on the turbo because it was like a 5-inch opening. And I was making enough pressure in the system just like that I was having a hard time keeping the bucket on. So I didn't have to like disable the rockers to close the intake valves or do anything like that, and could still get the system to make pressure. So this thing I can't even get to build 1 pound. So check this out. Just resting position is 0.2 on the boost gauge. So I'll turn this guy up. And that's 40 PSI on there. And that's only coming up to 0.6. I can hear it when I move it around. So you get the idea. I don't know if you could actually hear it because of the noise in the intake, but these were all leaking. When I wiggle them around, you could hear the noise change. Hopefully you could hear it on the video. But that one has a bunch of tape around it. That one I could actually feel air coming out of. The bottom one, I could hear it, especially when I moved it. This one seems like it might be okay. But at the track, I did take electrical tape and I wrapped it around the O-ring grooves and then put the O-rings on to actually space the O-rings out. So this one's a lot tighter. So my whole time I was kind of focusing on this one, but this one's actually leaking too, enough that just idle sitting here I can feel it coming out by hand. So I am going to take the truck back to the track. I'm actually going to take a day off of work like 2 weeks from now and go back down there after I fix all this stuff. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead and get rid of all of those quick connect couplers. Just do silicone, and I might even just get rid of that blow-off valve. Or use the V-band and like weld a cap in there or something.